Are you proud to be American? Send us your pictures. We're going to put them up during this show. What you're going to be doing on Memorial Day. Does anyone know who the guy next to me is?
Well, he's a proud American. So does everyone else out here on the street, too. They're coming up and saying
Scaramucci is here, former White House Communications Director.
All right, Brian. Good
How's it going?
Good to see you. Great.
It's good to have you here. It is great.
Hey, happy Memorial Day, everybody.
Thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about the shocking news about 23 hours ago. The President of the United States pulled the plug on the North Korea summit because it sounds like he thought North Korea was trying to play us.
Well, I mean, it's probably a combination of different factors, but I think it was obviously a good move because he doesn't want to get caught off guard in the early part of June where they're doing something unexpected. And so his preemptive move was the right one. And that doesn't mean that this summit's not necessarily going to happen. It's still open to a possibility, Stephen, so let's see.
You know,
go ahead. Many in the media mocking the president, saying that this is nothing but just a bad breakup. Listen to what some of the folks are saying on other channels.
There goes that Nobel Peace Prize he was.
There you go.
There it goes.
Oh my gosh.
It sounds like a 13-year-old stream of consciousness in a breakup letter from overnight camp.
The art of diplomacy is a lot harder than the art of the deal.
And when he got this letter from the president saying, okay, never mind, he must be having a giggle fit right there now in North Korea.
The president was rehearsing his end zone dance, and we weren't even at the 50-yard line yet on this summit.
This is a total breakup letter, and you realize, like, this when your relationship starts souring, but you want to be the one to break up first, so you cut it off, but you're kind of like, maybe we can leave it open-ended. That's what this feels like.
Not exactly a breakup letter. Somebody was cheating, it sounds like.
I mean, so it's got to be enormously frustrating for the president because he's a business person and a negotiator and is playing it very straight, and they're spinning it that way. And if you look at the politicians that were just interviewed, it's all the same sort of nonsense. And so at the end of the day, he's got a deal on the table that he will accept for the American people. If that does not work, then there'll be no deal. It's just really that simple. And that sort of bluntness and that steely backbone is something that these guys don't like, which I find very ironic. It's almost like they're supporting places. They support MS-13, Hamas, and now they're supporting Chairman Kim.
They didn't want him to do a deal.
No, they don't, because they don't want him
to get a win.
They don't want him to get that win, and that's sort of crazy that we're all Americans, and the guy has the best interest at heart. You know him personally. We all know him personally. You know, he's a great guy. At the end of the day, let's give him the benefit of the doubt, and let's get this deal done if it's going to happen.
Anthony, he's swimming against the stream. He's doing things his own way at a level, international relations level, that people go to school for generations to learn. And he's doing things his own way, bringing business into this to stratosphere, and it bothers a lot of people. But I would just say this: North Korea's measured response in return to the president's letter is noteworthy. They didn't come back with negative comments or calling the vice president dumb again. They say, listen, if you can get this back on track, we still would like to meet. So that shows that the letter, to a degree, worked.
I would say that, and I would also say that there's something going on underneath the surface that we'll discover 6 or 12 months from now.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
That will play into the hands of Secretary Pompeo and President Trump's statesmanship and brinksmanship in terms of getting a deal done. So I'm still very optimistic that a deal will happen, and I think it will happen along the lines of what the president's talking about. And just remember, when he brought the hostages back, no concessions, no payments, none of the nonsense that those politicians that were on those shots were talking about. Okay, so this is a new era, and the good news is that you get the right guy in charge to handle this.
Speaking of politicians, Devin Nunes and Trey Gowdy went over to see some Department of Justice officials. They thought they were going to be able to see some unredacted documents. According to some of the online stuff I've read, apparently the Department of Justice did not show them what they wanted. Then the Gang of Eight came in and they looked at stuff, and none of the Republicans I heard would comment about it because it was classified. Nonetheless, the news in the last week has been, did the federal government insert somebody close to the Trump campaign to monitor what was going on? Ari Fleischer was on our air yesterday, and he said it happened during the Obama administration. And with something so explosive, POTUS would have known. Watch.
We need to know, why did it begin and who authorized it? What role did Barack Obama have? Did he know that the FBI was going to put informants there? And I'll guarantee you the answer is yes. No FBI would put informants in another presidential campaign without permission from the White House, including the president.
So,
Well, listen, my hat goes off to Ari because he was a Bush 43 guy, part of the establishment, part of the artifice. He knows exactly how it works. For him to be out there saying this, it should be a wake-up call to people that the president's on to these people. He has the goods on a lot of them, and now they're squirming, trying to figure out how they're going to answer for the mistakes that they made or the transgressions that they made.
What do you mean the goods on a lot of them? You mean people in the West Wing?
Well, no, I think it's a combination of people. I think it's obvious that there's been some weaponization of some of these agencies at the tippy-top level, and I think the president would say to all of the rank and file members of the FBI and the Department of Justice that you're good people and you're great Americans and you're impartial. But at the tippy-top, they did not want him to win. They were super afraid of it, and I think that they weaponized these agencies in a way, and he caught them. And so the great thing for America, frankly, is that he won, and we have the opportunity now to clean this up and to bring those agencies back to where they belong, which is a depoliticized situation for America.
Right.
And get it. How do you do that?
How do you do that, and how do you see this playing out? Will anyone go to jail?
Well, I don't know if anyone's going to go to jail because it's a tricky thing about Washington. You know, they sort of protect each other. And so the likelihood of people going to jail, I think, is low. But how do you do that? You're probably going to have to bring ex-governmental officials in from both sides and hammer out an agreement that relates to some level of depoliticization. Right. So almost like a Simpson-Bowles commission to try to depoliticize things.
Well, if they do Simpson-Bowles, maybe they'll adhere to it when they come to their conclusions. Yeah, exactly. And I just think some FBI agents are saying, please subpoena me because they want to come out against Comey. I'm very fascinated to see how this plays out. Meanwhile, there's something that got underplayed yesterday because of the blizzard of information, and that is the president did something that's been rumored for about 5 different presidents. He pardoned one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time who was jailed for something that's embarrassing, a racist rule, the Mann Act, taking a white woman across state lines, claiming that she was a prostitute. They put him in jail. He ended up cutting a deal where he served 10 months. I'm talking about Jack Johnson, the original Muhammad Ali, who was a champion for years. The president said, I see this stuff, let's pardon him. A great-grandniece was there, Lennox Lewis was there, Sylvester Stallone is the one who told him about it. This is important.
Well, listen, I love the story on so many different levels because supposedly the president's a racist, okay? And so this is like obviously ironic that he's one of the least racist people that we all know. And so here you are in a situation where Sly Stallone brings the case to the president. The president looks at it, immediately says, okay, this is completely and totally unfair. And that exoneration sends a message to everybody, okay, about what is fair in our society and what isn't. And so for me, I'm very proud of the president, very proud of the president doing that. And it's interesting that his critics are not talking about that. They want to talk about the breakup letter. In the meantime, he's probably going to bring us peace on the North Korean peninsula, but they're not talking about this monumental thing that he just did yesterday in the Oval Office by pardoning Jack Johnson.
Why has it taken so long? Why didn't President Obama do that?
Well, you know, I think it never got to the front burner for any of these guys. You know, at the end of the day, the president moved it to the front burner because he's a compassionate person. And so, you know what happens in Washington, okay? A Jack Johnson who passed away in 1946, it just wasn't that relevant. But I just want you to think of the symbolism in the inner cities of doing something like this. The message is loud and clear. The president said in 2016, give me a chance. And I think that they're giving him a chance. And the results are there. You have the lowest unemployment in the African-American community in the history of gauging that unemployment.
But I want to see that, Anthony, but I want to see the urban policy. He's talking about a program that we got to unveil it. I want to see what Ben Carson's doing. They got to communicate it. So that would be the next step.
We also got to resolve the situation in Chicago. I mean, it's ridiculous what's going on in Chicago.
84 shot.
All right. Anthony, thank you very much for joining us on this. Our first Friday outside, and we're celebrating Fleet Week.
Ainsley's a tiny bit cold, right? Ainsley's a tiny bit, right?
What I say?
Actually,
it's okay.
It feels good.
All right,
Yeah,
okay. Just checking.
Real quick, are you doing a TV show with Avenatti?
I'm not doing a TV show with Avenatti, no. Are you doing one with Avenatti?
No, I don't know.
No, we're doing one with you right now.
I like people who have full head of hair. You know, you like people who are captured.
All right, then I'm eligible.
Okay,
good.
Okay.
Thanks, Mooch.
All right, let's hand it over to Jillian, who has some more headlines for us. Hey, Jillian.
That's right. Good morning. Looks like a beautiful morning outside. Let's get you caught up on your news with this Fox News alert.